Welcome to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. We are a community newspaper based in Mid-Coast, Maine, and we provide the most comprehensive, in-depth coverage available anywhere of the 18 towns and one plantation that make up Lincoln County. I'm Molly. I'm a reporter here at the Lincoln County News.
And I'm Piper. I'm the other reporter here at the Lincoln County News.
And today we are going to talk about some of the top stories from our Thursday, April 17th edition of the paper. And then we're going to hear from some local sports enthusiasts.
Yes, our resident sports smarties.
Yes. Which are our sports reporter, Mic LeBell, and then our guy who does everything here at the Lincoln County Publishing Company, Lucas McNelly. And they're going to give a preview for what we've got to expect from spring sports.
Woohoo!
But first, Piper.
Yes.
You have been keeping up with RSU 12.
I have. We all have, well, I say we all, and it's just us two now, but all the reporters have had towns in the RSU 12 school district, but I have been covering RSU 12 for all of us, and they are moving forward with a $28.6 million budget proposal. There has been some stuff going on at the federal level, as I'm sure we've all seen, that is putting into question the federal funds that RSU 12 might receive in the next budget year. But the superintendent, Howie Tuttle, said he's just keeping an eye on it and we'll see what happens from there. But the budget is $28 million.
Wishful thinking, Piper.
$640,726.82.
And that's an increase, right?
Yeah, of about 5%.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's I think lots of school districts throughout the state are seeing increases such as that. So,
Yeah, and the federal funding uncertainty. So are you saying that they're kind of moving forward, assuming that they will get the federal funding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's interesting to see all our different school districts, how they're reacting to the uncertainty, especially with the Department of Education theoretically going away and other grant funding too. Some of them are saying, like RSU 12 is, we're just going to hope for the best and hope that it comes through. And then other districts are figuring out how they're going to absorb those costs or what they're going to do if they're going to. You know?
So they're just going to keep an eye on it. And, Howie basically said, we don't have a problem until somebody tells us we have a problem.
It makes me nervous. I mean, there are, anyway.
So, the district budget meeting is going to be at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 21st at the Chelsea Elementary School for all the RSU town voters that want to come out and talk about the budget. That's voters in Alna, Chelsea, Palermo, Somerville, Westport Island, Whitefield, and Windsor. So everybody get out there.
Let's go, guys. It's a long, weirdly shaped district that is RSU 12.
I'll have to look into how that district was made at some point.
And then also on the statewide scale, we have a local marine resources hero.
Yes, we do. Carl Wilson was sworn in as the commissioner of the Maine Department of Marine Resources recently. He's an Alna guy. Can you even believe it?
No. But you caught up with him.
I did. Briefly. He's a very busy guy, but I got him on the phone, luckily. And he said he's grateful for the opportunity. He's worked with the department for over 25 years now. And he's been serving as the acting commissioner since March when the previous commissioner, Patrick Kelly, retired. So he's been doing it for a minute, but he was sworn in officially recently.
Awesome.
So it's very cool. I was really glad to see that we had somebody from Lincoln County take on such a huge role at the state level.
Yeah. And what are his, what projects has he been involved in the past?
Yeah. So for the last 10 years, he was the director of the Department of Marine Resources Bureau of Marine Science. So he was instrumental in establishing the Division of Marine Mammal Research, which is responsible for monitoring North Atlantic right whales to make sure that, they have the data that they need at the federal level to develop regulations.
Yeah, which is a huge fraught topic in Maine and, in the Northeast. So that's no small.
Yeah, absolutely.
No small feat.
Yeah. So he also led the renovation of the Maine State Aquarium in Boothbay Harbor.
Let's go.
Yeah, he led the modernization of the department's seawater laboratory over there.
Wow.
So,
Oh my gosh, I need to go there. We don't go down to Boothbay too much because the Boothbay Register's down there, and we cover mostly like the not on that peninsula parts of Lincoln County, but I feel like I'm missing out sometimes.
I know.
I want to go to the aquarium.
I know. But it was so sweet. The few minutes that I got to catch up with Carl, he said Lincoln County is near and dear to my heart. Aww. When I mentioned, I was like, oh, it's really cool that we've got someone from Lincoln County so high up. Mm-hmm. So it was very cool.
Let's get that representation up there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, Molly.
Yes. Well, this is serious.
Yeah, the sheriff's office is talking about combating fraud, right?
Yes, we have a couple of articles in this edition about fraud. And if you have been existing in the world, you know that scammers are out there and they're ramping up their efforts to get money from people in any way they can, through the phone, through the computer, coming to your house maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're very susceptible to it here because we are demographically an older population, and a lot of scammers, unfortunately, target older people. Mm. So the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office is aware of this. They are super aware of it. So I was at the county commissioners meeting on Tuesday morning, and Chief Deputy Randmaker was saying, well, I don't have the quarter 1 stats finalized, but I'm thinking it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that people are siphoning out from people in Lincoln County. So that I knew we've been talking about fraud since we started here, but it's just.
But when they put it in front of you like that, it's wild.
It's crazy, and it's really upsetting. So the reason they were talking about it on Tuesday is that there's 2 detectives from the sheriff's office who are going to trainings in Alabama to talk about some specific kinds of electronic fraud, I'll call it. One of them is credit card skimmers, which are like these apparatuses that people can plug into point of sale terminals that kind of like steal credit card data.
Oh, I think I've seen videos of this.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's widespread. They've had it in Lincoln County. And Chief Deputy Randmaker was saying that there was one instance of this. I don't know if it was a skimmer or some other kind of like plug-in thing, but recently somebody got about $40,000 from an ATM or 2 ATMs, and then they got him down in Florida. But just to give you a sense of like this is happening actively. You know?
I wish this wasn't just an audio medium so you could see my face.
Yeah, Piper looks distressed.
I am very distressed.
So they're sending somebody to this training, which is run by the Secret Service, because right now when the sheriff's office finds a skimmer, they usually just send it to the Secret Service, who can conduct this forensic analysis of it and try and get the data back and try and figure out who was impacted so they can tell them and remediate it. But the hope is that a Lincoln County Sheriff's Office detective will be able to have that knowledge so they don't have to keep sending it off.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the Secret Service pays for the training because ostensibly they want to lower their workload.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. Not keep having skimmers sent to them. And then the other training session that a detective is going to is about digital currency like Bitcoin, and then there's a million others, which are sometimes a way that people can conduct scams and people are vulnerable to them. So learning how to intercept funds and prevent crime related to Bitcoin, etc. So I want to just note a quote from Chief Deputy Randmaker. He said, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Oh, he's probably right, though.
A dose of realism. So let's not be giving money to people who call us on the phone.
And if you are getting those requests, report it to the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm.
They take it very, very seriously. I mean, there's all kinds. We don't have to talk about this for too long, but there's all kinds of scams. People can imitate the voice of people you know. And my grandparents got a call like that from someone who sounded like me saying she was in jail.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm happy to report that I'm not.
Thank God.
But it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And then on the brighter side,
I was going to say on another side of law enforcement-esque world.
Well, people might have seen a train of first responders.
This is a funny thing because I knew you were there, and I saw so many people on Facebook being like, what's with all the sirens and everything? So Molly, tell them what the heck was going on.
I knew that Facebook was going to be going off. So on when was it? On
Wednesday, April 9th.
Yes. There was a parade of first responders with their sirens and lights on from Wiscasset to Waldoboro through all of Lincoln County up the Route 1 corridor. And the reason was it was the last shift of longtime dispatcher Bobby Robinson's career. She worked for 39 years.
She deserved a parade.
Yeah, she did. So she got like the biggest police escort with first responders from all throughout the county, from Booth Bay to the north.
That's amazing.
And they brought her to the Waldoboro Police Department, and then there was a big gathering and lots of thank yous and speeches because she has been such a big part of Lincoln County communications since before Lincoln County Communications was its own entity. And she's been integral. Everyone was saying she is a huge sleuth. Like, she'll find any information you need. So
I love her already, and I've never met her.
Yeah. And she's so kind. And she said she just always wanted to help people. And this was the career that allowed her to do that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So probably some folks who are listening, if you've ever called 911 and there's a chance you might have spoken with Bobby.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a woman.
Mm-hmm. Legend.
Wow. All right. And Molly, you also had our character this week.
Yes, I did. I had so much fun speaking with Catherine Dodge, who lives in Nobleboro, but is originally from Bristol, Upper Round Pond area as a kid. And then she lived in Damariscotta for a long time. So she's kind of been all around central Lincoln County. And she was recommended to us by somebody who said, Catherine Dodge, she was a truck driver for ages, and she doesn't seem to think it's cool that she was a female truck driver in like the 70s and 80s.
That's very cool. Of course. That's not really something you saw back then.
No. I mean, even now there's a disparity. Yeah. And I was like, so were you one of the only ones? And she was like, I guess so.
She's like, maybe. I
don't know. Yeah. She drove for Harry C. Crooker Construction, which is now known as just Crooker.
Oh, okay.
And she drove some really heavy, like many ton loads.
Oh, I'm sure.
And over the course of her career, she estimates that she drove, I don't want to get this wrong, a crazy amount of miles. Like, she was driving, I think she said like close to 2 million, because she would make many trips each day between Whitefield and the Booth Bay Peninsula. And then she was also doing other things like as necessary. So she was covering a crazy amount of distance.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there are many people on this earth that can say that they've driven that many miles.
Without leaving like this region, So I was like, so you had a lot of time to reflect. Which she did. And she is a big music lover and also a musician herself. So she would always be listening to country or Western or oldies and goodies, she said. Oh. So she got a lot of listening in. And nowadays she still loves to listen to music. She's not driving anymore. She has a huge book collection that she enjoys. So she's just kind of like enjoying her music without having to be on the road all the time.
I love that for her.
And I also want to note that she taught herself to drive at the age of 9.
What?
Yeah, I guess I kind of buried the lead there. 9, yeah. She's amazing.
Wow.
Yep. So I'm really grateful to her for speaking with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Molly, we're sticking with you here.
Okay. Well, we're the only two reporters right now.
I was going to say, we're the only two reporters, so it's really me and you.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we have another one of your stories. Tell us what's going to be happening at the Jefferson Annual Town Meeting.
Well, when this comes out, I think it'll be tomorrow. But on Tuesday, April 22nd, there's the Jefferson Annual Town Meeting by referendum. The polls are going to be open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Jefferson Village School. You can vote for municipal officers. Claudia Orfried, who's a current select person, is running unopposed. Wayne Johnston, who's the current road commissioner, is running unopposed. And then there's a contested election for school committee. We have Daryl Lehman, who's a resident, Suzanne Williamson, who's a resident, you might know her as Sue, and then Andy Bernier, who is the incumbent.
Nice.
Yep. And then there's a couple other things on the ballot, including the budget.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
The budget is $1,533,997, which is an 11% increase over last year.
Yeah.
And a proposed food sovereignty ordinance, which we discussed last week.
Yeah, so go listen to that one.
Yeah, if you're curious. And then We know a little bit about this fire truck purchase because our boss is the Damariscotta Fire Chief.
Yes, as we mention quite often.
Yes. So what did you find out about this?
Yeah, so Damariscotta is looking into purchasing a new fire truck. And I talked to John Roberts, our boss and Damariscotta Fire Chief, and voters are going to be considering authorizing the purchase of a $1.9 million ladder truck.
Yeah, this is how much they are now.
But from what I can tell, this may be the largest fire truck purchase in Lincoln County history.
Yeah, I believe it. Isn't it because costs have increased in recent years?
I don't think a fire truck has ever cost anywhere near $2 million.
Yeah. I just keep hearing people every year saying, like, the prices are going up. We need to put more in the reserve or we're never going to catch up to where we need to be.
Yeah, John said that they've been seeing crazy increases each year, and it's time to buy a new truck now.
Wow.
But yeah, their current truck has been in operation since about 2003, and they hope to operate it for about 30 years before replacing it. So by the time, if this is approved, by the time they get a new truck delivered, it would be about 2028. So it would be, their current truck would be about 25 years old when it's replaced.
Yeah.
But yeah, they honestly considered doing it because of rising manufacturing costs.
Yeah, so they're trying to get ahead of it. Okay.
It was because the cost was going up by more than 10% every year.
Wow.
So...
Well, how was the room when this was discussed? Like, did you get a read on how people in the public are feeling?
Well, so I was at the select board meeting when they talked about this, and there wasn't really anybody there. Okay. which is one of the reasons I wrote about it.
I guess we'll find out how they're feeling.
So we'll see how they're feeling at the open portion of the annual town meeting at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, June 11th.
Awesome. Can't wait. And then a little bit of Somerville news, because we always have to have some. We had another resignation of a town official this week. Sharon Recious, who was the chair of Somerville's Municipal Broadband Board, which oversees their town-owned internet network, which is kind of this ongoing project that's nearing completion. She resigned because she said she had already been contemplating not renewing her term, which was up, I think, in about a year. But... she was discouraged by the amount of, quote, misinformation that is circulating about the project. And then at a recent meeting of the Somerville Select Board, that was kind of compounded because Chris Johnson, who was serving as the liaison between the board and the Broadband Board and the Select Board. There's lots of boards.
Lots of boards.
In this story. He was removed, or just the position was removed, because the Select Board said they wanted to work directly with the Broadband Board. And there's a lot going on here, but basically some people on the Broadband Board were saying there's a lot of background knowledge that you need that Chris has. So they weren't too happy about his removal. And it sounds like, just given the amount of conversations that are happening about Somerville broadband, she wasn't up for it anymore. But she did say she was incredibly proud of the work that she's done. Somerville's journey to having fiber broadband internet has been a long one.
Yeah.
And they took the town from being a place where not a lot of providers / some would say none were willing to come serve, to now having their own network, which at the time they viewed as the only option. So,
wow.
Yeah, she's going to remain in the role until the end of June, just because she said she wants to oversee the transition and help with that knowledge transfer. So you'll still see her. And the Somerville Broadband Board meets at 6 p.m. on the second Monday of each month via Zoom. You can find that link on their Facebook page.
Great.
And we have a lot of sports news coming up for you next.
Oh, yes, we do.
So I think we'll turn it over to Mick and Lucas.
Lucas McNelly. I work at the Lincoln County News. I produce the podcast and do a bunch of other stuff.
Mick LeBell, sports reporter for the Lincoln County News. Also the head coach of the girls Lincoln Academy lacrosse team.
Which brings up some biased questions in the coverage of girls lacrosse here at the Lincoln
Not
County
at all.
News. But
unbiased.
Right. So we're here to preview the spring sports season, and it's so we'll do the caveat right off the bat that it is April in Maine, and it might snow tomorrow. So the schedules are a mess. It's anyone's question as to whether or not the field will be dry enough to play on. So it's very much a moving target this early in the year, but we're going to talk a little bit about the local teams and what to expect / hope for the coming season.
Yeah, we've had a lot of postponements and cancellations, but some games have gotten underway, at least for girls lacrosse on the turf.
There you go. And the turf makes it a lot easier. So
yes,
you won your first game,
indeed.
right?
We did. 6-2 over Morse at Morse on their turf.
Okay.
A good start.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to start with girls lacrosse? Because that's not the order we started with, but we might as well. It's the only
Sure.
team. So the Lincoln Academy girls are the only girls lacrosse team in Lincoln County, correct?
That's correct. And sadly, there's been attrition both in Lincoln County and to some degree in Mid-Coast Maine. Booth Bay used to have a program up until a couple of years ago, which sadly dwindled away. We tried to co-op with them, but it never quite connected. And Oceanside folded this year.
Right.
They folded it into the Camden Hills team, which doesn't seem fair, but
awkward.
yes, and awkward. But that'll definitely strengthen the Camden Hills program, and we have a game against them in about a week and a half. So we'll learn a little bit more then. But yeah, so it's unfortunately in the Mid-Coast, it's kind of waxed and waned a little bit as a sport. We don't really have a feeder program here locally. The closest one is in Camden Hills and then over in Bath.
And that was a problem that field hockey has too, right?
I believe so. Yeah. So it's just hard to gain and sustain momentum when you don't have kind of an incoming generation of players.
The feeder system is essential for any of these sports.
It is, and that's my biggest challenge coaching girls lacrosse at Lincoln Academy is thankfully I've gotten great athletes the last few years. Hand them a stick and kind of show them which is the top part and the bottom part. And here's how you throw the ball. Here's how you catch the ball. But we have kind of an intense break-in for that. And like I said, we've got some of the best athletes from basketball, and I'll touch on some of them here in a moment. But without that, we would struggle like the program did before I got going maybe 8 years ago. So looking at doing a feeder program. I might do some things with the Y this summer with the boys coach Tom Farrell, and trying to get that going again. There was a time, it's a long time ago, I hate to age myself, but I coached the boys lacrosse program at Lincoln Academy in 2004 to 2006. And at that time, I also helped start a feeder program at the YMCA and got a grant from USA Lacrosse. We got 15 or 20 sets of equipment and sticks and everything. And unfortunately, I had 3 babies, and I stepped away from both coaching and helping with that. And before I knew it, the equipment disappeared on eBay or who knows where, and the whole program tanked within 5 years. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard without a feeder program, but we've overcome that the last few years. I used to rely on my kids to lead that charge, but now they're no longer at Lincoln Academy, so it's kind of the crop of kids that we've been working with for a few years now.
And not going badly. Like last year, you went 9-5.
Yeah,
You 1-0 this year.
yeah. It's I think we have the best team we've ever had overall. And that's because we have a good goalie who I've had now for 3 years. Goalies are always a little flaky and interesting and fun, and this year is no exception for that. But definitely gained skill level and just overall knowledge of the game, and that helps. In my opinion, it starts from the goal out, and our defense is very strong, very experienced. And that's the core, like in many sports. You know, if you have a strong defense and a star player, which we'll get to in a second, then, you know, anything's possible. So, you know, we're a little bit inconsistent if the aforementioned elite player, you know, has an off game or they manage to swarm them. You know, we can struggle a little bit to score, but our defense is always there. And giving up 2 goals yesterday to Morse, who's a established program with a feeder program, you know, that's pretty good. So,
you guys gave up 8.2 goals a game last year, so 2 is a massive improvement.
Yes, it is. Definitely. We focused on it. One of our senior captains anchors our defense, Hannah Abello. We've moved Ava Lord, who's a really good athlete from the soccer program. She's one of our top defenders. And we have Flannery Brady, excellent player.
Okay.
She did play some youth lacrosse up in the Augusta area, I think with the Cannons is the name of that program. Okay. So she is one of the few that I, you know, was able to plug right into our lineup. Last year as a freshman, and this year she's a sophomore. Very good defender, very smart, and
you just lost your head.
very smart and good with her stick, and very fast. She had a couple clears yesterday. That really was eye-opening. And we also have Lexi Houghton at the crease position on defense also. And like Hannah Bello, just a solid anchor there on defense, stopping defenders. So we're known for our defense. Anything we can get out of our offense is a plus. And this year, another interesting addition is Izzy Bay from the basketball program. You may remember.
The basketball names, yeah.
Yeah, she's a good size athlete and just really soaks it up because this is her first year playing, and she's already in our starting lineup. Fast, smart, stays after practice to work on things, asking all the right questions after the practice to get better. So we got her up there. We got Sammy Kopp. It's her second year. Dynamic player, good soccer player, getting better and better. Hannah Purse, who's a senior. She played some youth lacrosse also. Just a solid, steady player, which is good on your offense. And Scarlett O'Brien, who's dynamic and scorer, very aggressive player that attacks the goal. A little bit streaky, though.
Yeah.
So we haven't hit the hot streak yet, but I know we will when we need her. So, but I guess highlighting it all is midfield is a really hard position in lacrosse. You basically run up and down the field throughout the game. So we have some serious antelopes and gazelles that play that position. Before I get to Miriam, Zophie Day, great defender, great at clearing the ball. Once she grabs the ball and starts running up the field, she's getting it up the field, basically, and that's really important in lacrosse. New this year to our program is Rowan Coffin, also a elite basketball player as a sophomore. Already making an impact more defensively. She just has great instincts on how to position herself, but running the ball up the field as well. So that's something we're really good at. You know, once we get in transition, make the stop on defense, we get the ball up the field pretty effectively. And then Miriam cleans up for us. Sure. She's a 4-year starter at midfield, 148 goals, all-time leading scorer, you know.
As a junior, was already the all-time leading scorer.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So this year, you know, we count on that a lot more than in past years. We've had a little bit more balanced scoring in the past. But, so our challenge is for other people to step up and get open when they swarm Miriam, which happened yesterday. So we got 4 goals out of Miriam out of the 6, and she had an assist on Sophie Day's goal.
Okay.
And Sammy Kopp, who I mentioned plays attack up front, she scored a goal as well. So
give people who maybe don't know lacrosse, because I don't know lacrosse at all. Like, give them the elevator pitch for why they should go to a lacrosse game.
Well, it's a high scoring game. It's a little bit like basketball in that sense. An average score is probably 12-8.
Okay.
That's why 6-2 yesterday was kind of remarkable. So it's fast paced, a lot of scoring, and a lot of running up and down the field. So it's a combination of every sport. It's got the hand-eye coordination with a stick, kind of like hockey. It's a field sport like soccer. There's 12 players on the field at a time, counting the goalie. And it's a lot like basketball, setting picks, moving the ball around the perimeter, and then driving to the net instead of the basket.
Okay.
And that's why I think our basketball athletes that we have this year can make a quick impact also. Similar footwork in basketball. You're trying to square up on your opponent. They're trying to set picks. They're trying to penetrate to the net instead of a basket.
Does it have the perplexing whistles that field hockey does, where you sit there and go, "What is that?"
It does, but they've made a vast improvement. About 3 or 4 years ago, it's called a self-start. So every time there are a lot of like stick fouls. So again, it's a lot like basketball in that you'll get like a reaching in foul in basketball. Well, you have like similar stick fouls that you can't enter the sphere. It's called, which is basically surrounds their head.
Okay.
Because in girls lacrosse, we only wear goggles for equipment. That's basically it.
And you don't want anyone getting hit in the head with a stick.
Yes, and inevitably they do.
Yeah, sure.
So there's a lot of those little like fouls and a stop and play. But what they improved is it used to be a whistle, and you had to wait till they got the ball and then blow the whistle again, and it kind of would take forever.
Okay.
And reposition everybody where they were supposed to be. But now it's a self-start. So when there's one of those ticky-tack little fouls, they just blow the whistle, signal what that is really quick, and then you can pick the ball up and just start running again. So the pace of the game has really improved. Much like baseball, Major League Baseball made improvements with time clocks for pitchers and how many times the coaches could go out to the mound and talk for like 10 minutes like they used to. They don't allow that anymore. So anyway, they really improved the pace of the game. And there's some, physical aspects. Like it's a rough game. It's a tough game. There's a lot of rug burns or turf burns and going down on the turf and running into people and so forth. So it's physical. It's not like boys lacrosse is full contact, checking and things like that. So it's mostly stick infractions and stick injuries, a lot of bruises on the arms and things like that.
All right, well, let's move on to boys lacrosse.
Sure.
There's only one team, right? Lincoln Academy went 5-9 last year. -70 goal differential.
Yeah, I think they'll improve on that. I think the negative part of that was probably their offense. I know on defense, their goalie, Sean Cushing, he's a 4-year starter this year. Well, 3 years. I take that back because the coach, Tom Farrell's son, was the coach Sean's freshman year. But, Sean's a real strong goalie. Probably one of the better ones in the state, and he's going to anchor that defense, and they have more experience this year. I think they had an inexperienced defense. Again, there's no feeder program, so you have people like E.J. Hunt, basketball player that picked up a stick last year, I think as a junior, and was playing defense. Well, this year he's a senior, and he's got a year under his belt, and he's going to be better. And a lot of those kids.
Do they have just the one Hunt, or I'm assuming there's 2 of them, right?
Nope. Drew does track.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm mixing them up.
See, yeah.
Sorry. Drew plays lacrosse and EJ does track.
Okay. I mean, it's a natural mistake.
But, those kids worked hard in the off season. There is pickup lacrosse up at the Pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a primarily soccer venue up in Rockport.
Yeah.
So a lot of those guys got together and did the, $5 pickup thing on afternoons or whatever. Some of the girls did that as well, which actually shows. So that's really the only option for people to play in the off season is that or the hardcore lacrosse programs down in Portland, like the Maniacs and so forth. But yeah, the boys lacrosse team is definitely trending up. They were good last year. They made the playoffs. I think they had an early exit, but like I said, scoring has been a bit of a challenge. They don't necessarily have the elite player they had 6 or 7 years ago. Nolan Michaels led them to the state finals.
Okay.
So they do have a bit of a pedigree of going to a state final. But they got to battle their way to score goals.
So is the aspirations for them this year playoffs, or
yes,
is the playoffs sort of assumed?
I think playoffs are assumed. I think how far they go is the question again. They do have a lot of guys back from their last year's. I think they were 7-7.
5-9.
5-9. And a lot of those guys got bigger. Which happens, and with boys sports in general. So I was impressed with the size and athleticism. I think a lot of them have really, like I said, been working hard in the off season. Some examples: Thomas McHale, really good midfielder. They also have state champion wrestler Cole Workman. Mm-hmm. He takes some face-offs, so he can really muscle those.
Sure.
Not a huge guy, but very fit. Another wrestler, Adam St. Cyr, who's really good. He's a long stick defenseman, midfielder player, but I saw him with a short stick in their scrimmage, so that was interesting.
So there are different sticks?
Yeah, so on defense, it's about a 5 or 6 foot long pole, basically, which they can batter the opposing offensive player with.
Okay.
Quite vigorously.
And the offensive stick is shorter?
Yes.
Okay.
And most players have the shorter stick, which is generally like 3 or 4 feet long. Sorry, I don't know the exact dimensions.
Control that, I'm guessing.
Yes, exactly. So the advantage of having that long stick is you can reach out and whack the ball away. Mm-hmm. Downside is, it's a lot harder to hide it if you're trying to run up the field with a ball. It's easier to hit that big pole. And also, harder to pass, catch, hand-eye coordination with something that's, 5 or so feet, much more difficult.
I got to get to a lacrosse game because I'm very confused, but that's,
Yeah, so boys lacrosse does have that difference in specialization. So all the defense, and there's 3 defense in boys lacrosse, they all have a long stick.
Okay.
And you can also have another long stick midfielder. So you can have 4 long poles on the field at a time.
All right.
And there's a lot of strategy with that we won't get into here. But
it's not a just lacrosse podcast.
Right.
But real quick, what are the girls, the aspirations? I mean, assuming this coach of theirs, assuming he gets his act together.
Well, we do have a very tough schedule this year. We picked up some additional challenging games with Coney and Mesolonsky. So we have so many games that could go either way this year, which is awesome. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. But there's such a fine line between winning and losing, like, in a very competitive in any sport. So obviously, if we play well, we could be really good and go. Our goal is to make the state semifinal again. Obviously, winning it all is the goal for everybody. Yeah. But realistically, 2 of the last 3 years, we went to the state semifinal, the Final Four, so to speak, in Class C. And last year, we got upset in the quarterfinals. So that was kind of a disappointment. We kind of fizzled out. We had a good team again, but couldn't hold it together there at the end of the season. So one of our goals is to kind of remain focused when summeritis is going on and senioritis and proms and graduation. And so that's one of the challenges of being a spring sport coach. And I'm sure, all the baseball coaches, tennis coaches, they'd all agree with that. It's a tough time of year to keep kids focused.
Especially the seniors, probably.
Yeah, it's 70 degrees out, and you got to practice, and it's sunny,
And if you're not like a legit threat to win it all, then Do we care?
Yeah.
We're
So
the 6th seed.
And last year we were the 3 seed. I think the last 2 years we've been the 3 seed. We're probably we're in that like 3 to 5 seed category, but we would have to upset like an NYA, North Yarmouth Academy, or Wayne Fleet to win it all. So I can't sit here and say, oh, we're, on paper we're better than those guys, because we're not. We don't have a feeder program. We don't have the skill, but we have to have everyone play a role and play the role well. But if they do, we can beat anybody.
Right.
Especially now that we have a goalie. It's her 3rd year. She's a junior, Sierra Stokes. So that makes a difference, and that could be the difference this year.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to baseball.
Boys, yeah, I think they might have a harder track to, compete for a state semifinal or something like that. Just don't have the scoring pop I think that they need, but it's developing.
All right, we'll move on to baseball. So let's start with Booth Bay. They went 6-10 last year. Some quick stats: they scored 4.6 runs a game. They allowed 5.3.
Yeah, I think the pitching was a bit of a struggle for them last year, and I was surprised when I saw that Liam Jacobs is back. I thought he graduated. So, wow, that could really bolster them. Unlike softball, where you can kind of ride one pitcher, baseball, you got to have 2 or 3.
Well, because in softball, you can pitch every day.
Yeah.
Essentially, because it's
pretty much.
The underhand motion is not as stressful biologically.
Correct, on the elbow and the shoulder and all that. Yep.
And I think I've read places that throwing a baseball is like one of the most unnatural things you can do from a physiology standpoint, and so it's so very dumb. We do it.
Yes. But unlike like professional baseball where they have 5 starters and they rotate all them, in high school baseball, you need 2 or 3 starters because they don't play every day.
Right.
They'll play 2 or 3 games a week, so you can spread.
You still need that same rest, though.
Yes, but right. So the games aren't as packed together. So yeah, Liam is a very strong pitcher last year, and I can only imagine. I think he's added a couple new pitches to his repertoire. But a very good baseball player. He played on the summer Booth Bay 36ers team that I covered. And, was one of the better players for that squad. But as a young player, I didn't realize that. So they'll be counting on him quite a bit. But they also have a lot of other seniors back. Maddox Cusimano. They got Adric Canada. Sean Gamage, he was really good as a freshman. Yeah, 3rd baseman. Very good player. Oh, Sam Markowitz. Yeah, shortstop.
I've heard that name too.
Yeah, he's really good player as well. Good hitter, lefty. And Casey Phelps is back. So they have a really good foundation for a good team. I'm not as familiar with who came up from middle school, which can make a big impact sometimes. Yeah. So, looking forward to seeing what they can do. They're in Class D, so I do see them improving on that record last year. I think they lost some close games.
And they don't have a co-op with Wiscasset, right?
They did. It's kind of confusing right now because last year I think they had 1 Wiscasset player on the roster. But now, and we're going to jump into this, I guess, is that Wiscasset has restarted baseball as a JV program, Club JV.
We won't go deep into that because it's just Club JV, but the basic idea is we're trying to work towards having a varsity team again.
Yes. Yep. And part of what I understood from the Wiscasset JV coach was that they would be getting some JV players from Booth Bay.
Huh.
They're going to need that because they only had 8 or 9 Wiscasset kids.
And Booth Bay doesn't have enough for their own JV team.
Correct.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that would make sense. And hopefully that's all going to work out for Wiscasset so that they can get a season in and go back to varsity next year. That was their dream, their plan.
All right. So let's move on.
And their coach is Jay Bailey, the new Wiscasset JV coach.
Let's move on to Madomic and Lincoln. Now, these numbers are not as good as they were for basketball.
Yeah.
This is not as rosy of an outlook. You want to do Madomic or Lincoln first?
Let's cover Lincoln first.
Okay. So Lincoln Academy last year went 8-8. They were ranked 44th on MaineBasketballRankings.com, and they had a negative run differential of 7. So not bad. They gave
They're about a 500 club.
Yeah.
That's how I would think of them last year, and I'll put them in that ballpark this year. I mean, hopefully they'll win some more games, but realistically, they did graduate some key players. Gabe Hagar and Luke Houghton come to mind right away. But the good news is that they return all of their starting pitchers that won games. So
does this mean that they're not returning someone who lost a lot of games? Was there like a starter on 0-6, and they're like, what?
Well, honestly, Gabe Hagar did pitch quite a bit. He's a good fielder, and he was a good hitter and a pretty good pitcher. But Class B is pretty tough.
But you scored 1,000 points, you're a Maine man anyway.
So yeah, he
Anything
might
else
have
to do is
unfortunately
bonus.
lost. Yeah, he probably lost a few of those games.
All right.
But the guys that won all their games, literally, so those 8 starts, the starting pitchers were Aiden Sanborn, AJ Jiverson, and Blake Grady, and they're all back this year.
Okay.
And they're all good. Jiverson's a lefty, so they have that in their starting rotation as well. They have a lefty-righty matchups that they can do. So that could really take them further. Pitching is big,
So
you
it'd be
know.
a
So
10-6 and 11-5,
yeah, maybe.
something like that.
Yeah, I know they play a tough schedule, like I said, and it's pretty much the same schedule as Madomic, so theirs is tough too. But they play some of the better teams in Class B. And batting wise, they have another player that's worth mentioning, Owen Cotta. Very good hitter. He played on that Booth Bay 36ers like travel summer team with Liam Jacobs. He's a really good player. Plays shortstop. He'll hit, in the middle of that lineup. So yeah, he's back. So that's the upside.
Let me ask you this: in high school baseball, how many teams put their best hitter like first or second in the lineup, like the analytics have taught people to do in the big leagues?
Yeah, it's pretty similar in that you'll have your guys that hit for average, in those like top 2 slots. Booth Bay, same example. That Sam Markowitz kid, really good on base percentage. He's not going to pound the ball out of the park, but he slaps singles. He's a good runner. So it's usually a fast.
So the analytics have come to high school baseball.
Yeah, the way that the lineups are structured, is very similar to that. Your guys that get on base and are fast or early in the lineup. Your big sluggers are in that 3 to 5, and then some of the lesser hitters perhaps occupy that 7 to 9
Gotcha.
slot. Sometimes catchers fall into that just because they're more focused on
Defensive position.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's very similar to that, and I think they're a classic team in that sense also.
Okay.
But a little bit of pop, they have a little bit of power. Grady can hit the ball deep, but like any high school team, it depends on, they're going to count on some young players coming up and from middle school and making impact.
All right. So then Madomic Valley went 5-11 last year. They scored 5.1 runs a game, gave up 6.3.
Yeah, they were a little thin on their roster too. Their numbers have been down this year. It's looking a little bit better. I think they've bounced back, getting some good players from the middle school program. Jaden Ruiz, the outstanding football player.
Heard of him, yes.
Yeah, he's a heck of a baseball player as well.
Of course he is.
But they have, like Lincoln, they have a lot of pitchers back. They've got Gabe Lash from basketball
And football.
notoriety.
What position is Gabe pitching?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a tough pitcher.
I would imagine.
Partly that height,
Yeah.
it can be intimidating for batters. And he had not played his freshman and sophomore year, so last year was his first year back. And he towards the end of the season, he was really making an impact on the mound for them. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year. I saw him at a basketball event, and he said he's really excited about pitching again. He loves pitching. So, and his hitting, same thing. It came along. If you don't play for a couple of years and then get back in the saddle, it can be a little rough. But he was definitely also picking that up towards the end of the season.
So is this a candidate for a turnaround, this team, 5-11?
Yeah, I see them improving on that. They also have Porter Gahagan. He's a good football player, really good baseball player, plays either shortstop or third base, and he can hit for power. Walker Simmons can hit for power. He's back. Christian Schumann of basketball notoriety also.
Shooting state champion, Christian Schumann.
But he's a good fielder in particular. He's one of those guys you might have at the top of the lineup. He's fast. He's quick. He can hit for average.
Center field, maybe?
Well, he played second base last year, but I think he's versatile. Okay. He can play some outfield positions. So with the addition of Ruiz and perhaps some of their other strong middle school players that have moved up.
Ruiz is still a freshman.
Yeah.
Football season was so long ago that
I know.
You forget.
I did see him the other day. It looked like he'd been training and working out quite a bit. So he's going to be pounding the ball. But I do recall going to some of their middle school games last year, and he was just really outstanding players. So that could really make a difference. But yeah, I see them improving on that. I don't know that they have the depth of pitching or really in the lineup to go real far. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think they'll do better than last year.
All right, so let's move on to softball. So the big news in softball is that Wiscasset is back with a varsity, right? They're back at varsity level. They've got a team. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be rough sledding, but they are in Class D. Mm-hmm. I went to some of their JV games last year, and it was a little rough on the JV front. So I think they're realistic in their expectations. I think Chelsea Taylor, their coach, said that they'd be happy to win a game or two. Okay. But they do have, every team has some experienced players, even a upstart, regrouping or program. So team captains Anna Strozier and Michaela Bush are back, and that's a pitching catching combo. Mm-hmm. Michaela Bush pitches and Strozier's a really good catcher, so they got that going for them.
That's the most important thing.
It is, and they'll build out from there, and they do have a bunch of returning players from last year's team. I think they only graduated one player. Okay. So they also got some incoming players from their middle school. Trixie Loyola, who was good as a freshman on their basketball team. A quick little player, good hitter, and a fast base runner.
Trixie Loyola. That's a really great name.
It is. It is.
It's like something out of a novel.
Yes.
It's like the author's like, boy, I can't come up with a really good name. And then ends up at Trixie Loyola somehow.
And she's a fun, scrappy player in basketball. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do on the diamond.
All right. And then
for them.
Boothbay doesn't have a team.
They don't, and I don't think that they have any players that are joining this team because they every sport they sort of combo or they have that opportunity. Mm-hmm. One thing I didn't mention is that I understand that at least a couple or a few Boothbay students play for Morse lacrosse.
Okay. Going
back to boys lacrosse.
In the fall. Or no, spring, yeah.
Yeah. So they had that opportunity. So I don't know at this point. I'm going to look into that because I'll follow that as sort of a side story that Boothbay kids can play for Morse.
Much like a Dhammaketta hockey player playing for Chevrolet.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll have to confirm that as well. But yeah, softball's back. It's going to take a little while to build that program back. But we'll see. It'll be fun to go and check it out and watch their progress.
Sit in traffic for 20 minutes before and after. All right, so let's move on to Lincoln Academy. Last year, the Eagles went 6-10. They gave up 4.9 runs a game, and they scored 4.9 runs a game, and they allowed 8.1.
Yeah, I remember a lot of high-scoring games from last year, despite the fact that Lincoln did have a good pitcher in Natalie Kaler who graduated, which is going to have a big impact on their team this year. Pitching, like I said, having like an ace pitcher is so key because they pitch almost every game for you. So this year they're relying on sophomore Olivia Ball, who's a solid pitcher. She when Kaler wasn't on the mound last year, it was almost always Olivia. And she was learning as a freshman last year. Obviously will be better this year. She played basketball as well for the Eagles.
Up to Kaler's level.
Yeah, Kaler was a good pitcher. Yeah. And Olivia I think is still learning. She's a sophomore. But she's capable, so we'll see. I'm not sure how much she's progressed from last year, but if that is significant, then hopefully that'll make up for some of that. Also, Brea Lafreniere, who was injured right before the start of the basketball season, unfortunately, is back playing softball. And according to Coach Mike Ward, she's just amazing and will also be one of their pitchers. So that can, hopefully also fill some of that void. But yeah, they definitely had some losses to graduation. Also, Maggie Thompson, their catcher, is not back this year after having some concussions in basketball. You might remember she missed the end of the basketball season. So that's a big loss also. So they've lost their pitcher catcher.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. So we'll see how much they can make up for that.
Be a little bit of a rebuilding year.
I think so.
Right.
Unfortunately. We'll see what Lafreniere can do. I guess she's good, good hitter, good outfielder, good pitcher, shortstop. So it sounds like a future star for the Eagles. But anytime you're a freshman, you can't really count on that. Yeah.
I mean, we learned this in basketball. You watch the freshman and you're like, I think this kid, I think this kid is the kid. And then that kid sometimes, yes. And then other times you're like, oh, that just didn't pan out, I guess.
Yeah.
But then some other kid who you're like, where's this guy been? He's been here the whole time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're all conference.
Yeah, and that's what the Eagles will need. They do have some good returning hitters. Grace Ward, one of the captains, is a really good hitter. Layla Musial, also, I think she was their leading batting average hitter.
I mean, with that name.
All right, let's stand Musial. I know. I haven't talked to her about that. Maybe she's related to the old baseball legend from the 50s. I think it was 1950s.
That's one of those things where you see that name on the lineup card. You're like, I don't know, but I think we should pitch around her.
Well, she's lived up to that. She was their leading hitter last year. She's back, so they'll really count on her. Other impact players, Cadence Rogers, also a senior. She's back. Good fielder in particular. Bronwyn Coffin, same thing. Coffin played a lot of shortstop last year. Both of those players, not a lot of power per se. They're not the biggest kids or the biggest, hitters. So, but they get on base and, so they'll have to scrap together some runs and count on Ball and Lafreniere to step up the pitching and replace Kaler from last year.
Sure. All right, so let's move on to Madomic. Last year, 14-2. They finished the regular season ranked 12th at MaineBasketballRankings.com, which is my site, which is why we keep using it. They scored 8.5 runs a game, and they allowed 3.1. So this is why I left them for last. You see how I did this? Because this seems like the team locally that has potentially the highest expectations, or did they just graduate everybody and I'm just not paying attention?
High expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, they have almost everybody back, and the pitching could be something to watch. Madison Boynton graduated. She was their ace.
Okay.
Excellent pitcher. But wisely, they did start working in Sydney Nichols last year towards the end of the season. Young pitcher. I believe she's a sophomore now, but she looked good, and she's going to be their ace, apparently, that they're going to turn to this year. So a lot's going to ride on her, but she definitely impressed me with her pitching as a freshman. So that's kind of their ticket.
So if
I hate to say
out,
it,
then that might be what it rides on.
I think so. Yeah, I really do. Because otherwise, pretty much everything's back on offense. And if anything, they're stronger. Last year, Katana Williamson was a little bit limited due to injury.
I'm familiar with that name.
Yeah. And Grace Townsend, the hockey player that won the state championship with the Chevrolet cooperative team, she's back and 100% this year. I think she came back towards the end of last year, like Williamson. They got great hitter in Ariana Sproul, plays third base. They got Peyton Eaton, who's a good hitter, quick runner. They kind of have the whole package if the pitching pans out. Yeah,
because if you're 14-2, that's the thing that's going to take you over the top is the pitching.
Yeah, and that's what brought them to the top as well. Boynton was really, really good, one of the best in Class B, or at least in their league. So, yeah, I mean it's going to ride a lot on that. Another player that could make a big impact is Habener. And Claudia Feely, she can pound the ball.
Sure.
So they got the power hitter in their lineup. They play good defense. They're fun to watch. Yeah, I saw a lot of their games last year. They went pretty deep in the playoffs. They lost a heartbreaker to Freeport. They were winning that game, and just somehow Freeport
what
rallied.
Was that?
That was in the Class B South semifinals. Yeah, so they had it, and it just slipped away. So that could also be a motivator this year. Right. I think that was surprising. I was at that game; it was shocking. They seemed to have it in hand, and the other team had a elite pitcher and hitter that had a huge game.
Yeah.
So that happens. That's the thing in baseball or softball. It's like someone has an enormous game, then you're in trouble. So that one slipped away. I think they'll get to that again this year. I think they'll at least make that South semifinal.
All right. So let's move on to tennis. Is tennis next?
Sure.
We say track, isn't it? Let's do tennis.
Yeah, let's do tennis. Boy, we have good tennis teams locally, too.
I don't know anything about tennis. I am familiar with Wimbledon and Roger Federer, and Andre Agassi.
Well, I'll tell you my most fun thing covering tennis is that the athletes referee themselves.
Interesting.
Yes, and that has always been cordial, although I did cover a match in the state finals that there was some disagreement, and that's the only time I've seen any heated exchange between players.
Umpire at all?
There's no umpire at all.
Not even for a state championship?
No.
Okay.
So they work it out.
The MPA doesn't have the money for
I think it's part of the culture and the sportsmanship of it, and it's really cool. Most usually.
We think for the state championship. Maybe
I get
the umpire for that.
There's more at stake, but so it's kind of cool to see that actually as someone that covers a lot of sports. The kids work it out.
Okay.
Usually, like I said, it's no issue.
All right. I just, as someone with two teenagers in my house, the idea that they just work it out every time.
That's why I thought I would bring that up here and point that out.
That's impossible, but okay.
Yeah. So let's start with one of the stronger teams, I think, of the bunch. The Madomic Valley girls look really good this year. They only graduated one of their key players from last year, Jordan Dowdy. So they return almost their whole starting lineup, and they were good last year. You got Addie Ruggieri, Taylor Gerlach, Haley Blake and Arden Kondraki are their returning senior core.
Do a quick little thing on how tennis works.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because it's not just, it's a team sport, but it's a solo sport, and it's singles and doubles, and I have no idea what's
Great question. So each team fields 3 singles players that compete each match and 2 doubles teams.
Is it 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, or is it sort of mix and match?
Nope. And it's strategic. So the coaches will assign first singles, second singles, third singles, maybe anticipating who the other coach is going to put in those slots. So you might put you'll put your best player in the first singles, but you might put him in second so they can beat the lesser
because
of
if the other team has a dominant number 1, then maybe you sacrifice your 3 to the 1.
Yes.
And slide everybody down the spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that's kind of the strategy, I guess, of being a coach in that, which I think is also kind of cool, different from other sports that I cover.
Not fun to be the number 3 in that situation. You get sacrificed to the wolves, but sure.
Yeah, and sometimes the 3 is a spot that a coach will rotate different players into.
Yeah.
Different matches. And they also, at the end of each varsity competition, there's typically exhibition matches. So your players that aren't in your starting lineup per se get competitive exhibition matches. They don't count towards the final score, but ultimately, those are good matches too.
And
it's real tennis.
We drove all the way to Erskine. We might as well get everybody on the court, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have your 3 singles, and then each match there's a first doubles team and a second doubles team. So overall there's 7 starters that compete towards your team score.
And there's 5 total matches.
Correct. Yep.
And so that's just a question of who wins the most matches.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the Panthers girls, they had a really good season last year. They ran into a tough opponent early in the playoffs. I don't know how that happened seedings wise, but it was Cape Elizabeth.
Oh yeah.
And that didn't work out so great. But this year I do think they have enough returning players, strong players, as well. I didn't mention they have a younger player, Minersman. I'm trying to remember her first name I can't think of it right now off the top of my head, but she's a really good player too. That's in kind of their mix of the top singles players. So they have a lot of seniors, and then they have her as well. I see them. Tilia, that's her name, Tilia Minersman.
Okay.
So I see them having another strong season and contending. I didn't turn out last year. I don't think quite as good as they thought it could. So. Same thing. Hopefully they'll be a little angry about that.
Get a little bit more, get a little luck. Maybe.
Yeah, but they'll definitely be, one of the top teams in their league and in Class B. So moving on to Lincoln Academy girls tennis, also going to be strong. They return a lot of senior players, although they're the case of the injured could have been situation. London Hunter is recovering from an injury. She may make it back.
Okay.
But if she does, what's she going to be like?
What's the injury?
I don't know. I didn't get the details. Oh. It's one of those, lower body injury.
I mean, if it's like an ACL tear, that takes a little while.
Yeah.
To get back up to 100%.
Yeah, I don't have the details yet. I think I cover them on Monday coming up, so I'll get a closer look and more details. But they're missing her. They do have Olive Siegel and Olivia Crocker returning to their top 3 singles positions. They always get good international players. So that's like a wild card for them every year, sure. Boys and girls. And this year I already noticed that those girls won their matches, the international players, in doubles. They played together. Recruiting. Yeah, it could be. They already are making an impact. So that's a bit of a wild card for them. Every year it seems like they have some strong players from various foreign countries.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so they look pretty deep, pretty strong. It'll be fun to go to the Lincoln versus Madomic matches for sure. So same thing. Last year, they were 7-4. They went to the Class B quarterfinals. They lost to Greeley. So I think
it's a rough draw. With Greeley
yeah.
or Cape.
Again, when you go,
it feels like if I'm playing tennis, I don't want to get Greeley or Cape.
yeah,
It just seems like they're going to be good.
yeah, the country club
I don't want Falmouth
sports
either.
down there. Yeah, right.
You know?
We do have a strong youth program in the area at the YMCA's and up at the MRC
Yeah.
Mid-Coast Recreation Center. So a lot of these girls play in either the Booth Bay Y or in advanced programs at MRC, both for Madomic and for Lincoln. So pretty strong tennis.
All right.
Another strong tennis team, Booth Bay Boys. They returned just about everybody, and they have a new intriguing freshman that I'm looking forward to seeing that won a first singles match. So he was in that number 1 slot. I believe he's a freshman, Alex Ross. Haven't seen him yet. Looking forward to that. But they do have Clayton Splain back. He's a really good player that they had last year. So they went undefeated last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did they win the whole thing?
No, sorry, undefeated in the regular season.
Right.
They lost, I believe, in the finals, though, to Wayne Fleet, I think it was.
That's another one you don't want to get Wayne Fleet.
And that one is just on memory, so I don't have that info right in front of me. But yes, they were very good last year. Graduated a couple good players, but they got new ones in. This Alex Ross kid who won his match the other day against Madomic. They got Avery Fowley, who's the younger brother of a guy that graduated that was really good. Again, also another good freshman. So they've kind of restocked, and I believe they're in Class C. So the competition's a little easier, perhaps. So they look good. I picture them kind of in that same realm that they were last season. A lot of returning players.
But that Wayne Fleet will probably not go anywhere.
Yeah, true. So they'll have that roadblock when they get to it.
All right. Do we have any more tennis? Or?
We do. Madomic Valley boys, they did lose a bunch of players. I'm very concerned, I guess I could say, and their coach.
Okay.
So they have a new coach. They only have 7 players.
Who's the new coach?
Kevin Richardson. So
I know Kevin.
he's a sports guy.
Yeah.
And he'll do a good job there, but they lost so many. They lost Corey Donlin, also a good basketball player, but he was good at tennis. And their other number 1 tennis player also graduated. So they're and Mason McGuinn isn't playing.
Oh, is he playing something else, or is he?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. But he's not playing tennis, and he was quite good, actually, and getting better all the time. Another good basketball player, which Lucas gets very excited about.
He's working on his game.
And they do have a newcomer, Michael Riley, who's going to make an impact, but how much of an impact will be to be seen. And Gavin White's a good player that's back.
Okay.
Colin Donlin is back. He's good. Another basketball player.
Runs in the family.
Yeah. But we'll see, how far those guys can carry them. But yeah, I see that might be a little bit of a tough season for them. They were good last year. They made it into the playoffs, and I think then got knocked out by Lincoln.
And then lost everybody.
Yeah. Yes, they lost most of their team.
So rebuilding year in Waldeboro.
Rebuilding year. Booth Bay girls, they ride one amazing player, Laura Chapman. Probably one of the best 10 players in the state.
Oh.
But the supporting cast after that is a work in progress.
Okay.
And they played a match against Madomic recently and didn't have enough players to field all 7. I think they only played like 3 or 4 matches.
So in that situation, is that a forfeit? Or do you just...
It was a scrimmage.
You just concede those matches?
Yeah, they conceded it. So it was 5-0. But so that's an issue. They have a very thin roster. I mean, if you don't know if you're going to
Right.
have to forfeit a match or two. That could be a problem. Having said that, they were a playoff team as well last
But
year.
even if you have to forfeit those matches, your number one can still probably qualify for. There's like individual.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's a unique sport in that sense. There's even like a different like qualifier tournament thing on the side that they do for that. So there's the team competition, and then there's this singles separate track. Okay. Yeah. So that's what she competes in. But they were 8-4 last year as a team. So depending on who can, you have to win. It's like you said, it's a best of 5.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to win 2 other matches every time they play to win the match. And then the boys, Lincoln Academy boys, ooh, man, they lost some guys.
Did they?
Yeah, they lost Casey Duncan and Rath Schoenthal. They're number 1 and 2.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's going to be tough sledding a little bit for them. But Mike Blake is a longtime coach there, and he's really good with developing players and getting them up to speed. And they also get these international players. So there's that question mark there.
Sure.
Did he get some kid from Spain that's, an elite tennis player? I don't know that yet. I'm going to find out very soon, but they're probably going to need that.
They'll find somebody.
Yeah, to match, where they went last year, they're definitely going to need something like that to happen. Having said that, Eli Mellinson's a really good player. He was a doubles player last year. Be curious to see if he doesn't land in their singles lineup this year, which is pretty typical. Usually, your strongest 2 are going to play first and second singles.
Okay.
Having said that, he's just a really good doubles player, so maybe they would keep him there. And then George Siegel, really good player as well. That's back.
Not the actor.
No.
Okay.
No, but he's a really good player. I got to see him in the playoffs last year. So yeah, they got some holes to fill, but they'll be competitive. But I just don't know if they can make it as far as they did last year.
All right, so we're gonna move on to track now. Now there's 800 events in track, so let's do the bird's eye view of track. Yeah, bird's eye view. Let's start with Lincoln. Bit of a problem. Their star state champion race walker has walked away from the sport. Oh. Rowan Donahue. Did he graduate, right? He was really good on the basketball team. Remember, he helped carry them to that overtime win. He had a really great game. Great game. And now he's focusing more on basketball. Is he? Yeah, I saw him at a basketball event, and I asked him about his race walking. I had some funny joke about it, maybe. Because it is interesting to watch. Yeah, it's very weird. It's unorthodox. Yeah. And he said, "Oh yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it this year." And sure enough, running. No, he's not doing track. Okay. So he's focusing on basketball. Perhaps he's pursuing that for college, and he did have a really good. Won the state title. I know. Yeah. Hey, you did it once. You did it once. Yeah. Who needs it? Right. Yeah. But that's a lot of points that the boys' track team just lost. Sure. And that's how that works. First place, you get a whole bunch of points, depending on what kind of meet you're competing in. So they lost a lot of points there. Having said that, they do have a lot of returning athletes that competed at states last year. E.J. Hunt in the javelin, Abe Guilford in the discus, Peter Thillander in hurdles. He's a really good hurdler. Jordan Anderson is a blazing sprinter that won the state championship in indoor track in the 100-meter. So he's back. He made it to states in the 200 in outdoor track last spring. David Winchenbach. Batch. I always pronounce that wrong. He's kind of the jack of all trades guy. He's fun to watch. He competes in all the kind of niche. He's a hurdler. He's a jumper. He's a javelin guy. One of the better distance runners in the area is a Winchenbach. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good athlete. I think when they do pentathlon or decathlon or sorry, I can't remember exactly what that event is, but basically it's you're doing lots and lots of events. He competes in that. So yeah, they'll be counting on him to win. If he can win a bunch of these niche, events, then they'll rack up some points. And also Owen Card is a really good runner, distance runner. So he's back. So the boys team is actually going to be pretty good. The girls team, they definitely lost some of their horses, so to speak. And they do have Mercy Buckwalder competed last year at States, and other strong athletes that I think qualified for States were Chloe Anderson, Dylan Burmeister, and Francis DeGeer and Delia Saft.
All right.
So, but they're a little thinner on their experience and accomplishments in the past. So they'll have to have some youngsters step up, or some of these experienced runners and field events people kind of turn a corner and excel for them.
Sure.
So boys, Lincoln, good, strong. Girls, yeah, but good numbers in both groups. As far as number of participants, as usual. Yeah. That's a really good program, good culture, very popular sport to play at Lincoln. Madomic looks really strong as usual, in relays in particular. That's their strength. They seem to focus on that. Yeah,
that's a strange strength.
Yep, that's something they specifically work on and throw their best athletes at, and all their best runners compete in that, and as well as other events, but they always seem to get, both on the boys and girls side, the best they can out of the relays. So that's something their coach George Gould, it's his 29th year.
Is it
29 years
for George Gould?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And they just have a really good experienced staff, as does Lincoln Academy. Lincoln Academy has like 10 assistant coaches. There's someone for every.
Well, there's like 19 sport.
Yeah. They got jumping. They got the throwers.
I went to a thing.
It's amazing.
An event, a meet last year, and I'm like, I recognize like 16 of these coaches.
Yeah.
Everywhere I turn, I'm like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, they get a lot of support. So anyway, relays, same thing. They focus on that. A couple athletes to highlight. Scarlett Flint. Was a really good soccer player. Yeah, she's getting better and better at some of these sprinting events.
I could see that.
Yep.
That's what I was going to guess.
She's tenacious too. I can picture her. She's a heck of a competitor. So she's going to make an impact for them this year. And then the Collymore twins.
Oh, yeah.
Ava and Kaylee. Yeah, they're always good in those distance running events.
Is the Waldeboro, we're going to get to Waldeboro Day, but Waldeboro Day 5K defending champion.
Yeah.
I think it's Ava.
Yeah. She typically puts in the better scores than Kaylee, but every once in a while, Kaylee will jump up and
have a good day.
Yes. Yeah. But the two of them, the combo, and they compete in the relays, for example.
Well, if you have twins that are sprinters, you have to put them in the relay, because I'm assuming they're handing off to each other.
Well, in this case, their distance runners is probably their strength, but they're such great athletes and runners.
Channel the twin thing.
Yeah.
Connection.
I'm sure the handoffs are clean.
Very clean all the time.
Yeah.
They probably don't even have to look.
Well, they are. I mean, I have seen them compete in the relay, and another one of their teammates in the relay is Amber Pendleton, and she's also a really good athlete, really good runner. She's the captain of the girls team, so she'll be making an impact. So they have a smaller team, but their participation is up a lot this year as well. They have good numbers, so that's good. So their program's kind of on the rebound or strengthening end of things. Ella McLean is another interesting person on their roster. She does a lot of their jumping events, and for example, there was a scrimmage with Boothbay, Wisconsin, Lincoln, and Madomic, and she won a bunch of events, the high jump, the long jump. And I believe she's a sophomore. So she's a good athlete that will also make an impact on the girls'
Is she
side.
also a basketball player, or she's that good of a jumper? Why are we not playing basketball?
Correct. I don't think so. I don't think I've seen her on their roster. Yeah, right.
Wasting.
Yeah, the jumper like that.
I mean, if you got the jumping.
In fact, honestly, I don't see a lot of the basketball players on their.
They're on the softball team.
Perhaps, yeah, they are. Yep.
Right.
Rachel Richardson might be the exception to that. I see her on the track roster. On the boys' side, not quite as strong typically, but they have Grady Pease, the wrestler.
Yeah.
Who I don't believe competed last year, but he did really well in the 100-meter dash. So perhaps he'll make an impact, kind of drawing into the track team.
Wrestling strength time paired with 100-meter dash speed.
Yeah, well, he's lean and mean. He's definitely super athletic.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't picture wrestlers as runners, right?
Because you're not going to be able to beat him hand to hand, and you're not going to be able to run away from him.
Yeah, I'm surprised I don't see him in like the shot put listing here, but that might be a good event for him. Long jump, Evan Rush, brother of Will Rush, who was a state champion. So he scores a lot of points for them, both in the long jump and in the triple jump. I believe his brother was a state champion in the triple jump.
Okay.
And set a bunch of Madomic records. So this is younger brother. He's a sophomore now. He's fun to watch, as is his brother Will. They're very theatrical and get the crowd into it. And yeah, so it's fun. He's a fun athlete to watch. So Madomic, yeah, they'll be competitive also in track. It's a little bit different, as a team sport. A lot of it, once you get to the end, it's a little bit more emphasis on kind of the individual competitions, both at KVAC and states. Yeah. So last thing to touch on, Boothbay, Wiscasset. An athlete to watch there is Karen Higgins, who's an elite runner. She'll definitely be in the running for a state championship in some of those long distance events. Okay. Sophomore, by the time she's a junior, senior, she's more of a lock on even winning states, perhaps. So she's really an excellent runner. And they also have Rose Campbell, who's a really good sprinter. So those two stand out on the girls' side for Boothbay, Wiscasset. Slightly smaller roster. Sure. They kind of punch above their weight a little bit.
Do they combo for this, or are they individuals?
Individual primarily. They do have good relays. Okay. As well. Campbell definitely runs in the relay. I think Higgins.
Like the schools, are they co-op?
Yeah, yes, it is. I don't think they get many Wiscasset kids, but I know on the boys' side, Ben Gapsky, who's a basketball player, young guy, freshman or sophomore. He's good in the jump, like high jump and things like that. So he competes.
See?
For them.
Basketball player.
Yeah, there you go.
This guy's figured it out.
Yeah. So on the boys' side, AJ Crocker is the Boothbay guy to watch. He's in the top echelon.
Player, right?
No, I don't think so. No, he should be. I mean, he's a big, tall kid.
Who am I thinking of?
Not sure, but that's a good question. I would like to see him on the court.
Tell him to get on it.
Yeah. No, he's got good height, good size. So yeah, but he's a good runner. He's definitely, in the running at every event that I cover. He's a top 5, top 10 at every meet. Kind of also in the distance events.
Speaking of distance running, do you see this pivot here? You see how I'm doing this?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm going to go over some of the road races in Lincoln County. There's not as many as there used to be. So what happened was COVID knocked a bunch of them out, and a lot of them didn't come back. Some came back, but not as many as you'd like. But still, it's, if you're no longer in high school and you still want to be, active and find a way to compete with somebody, even if it's just yourself, a lot of people find their way to road running because it's much more dignified than pickleball. Which is a crime against
and not as noisy. Although there is kind of the slap of your feet hitting the pavement.
Yeah, but there's that. But then there's also pickleball. They're taking away from basketball courts, which we don't approve of here.
Ooh, yeah, right. And
Right.
tennis.
And tennis.
Ooh, tennis hates pickleball, or so it seems.
They do.
That's my impression.
Anyway,
It's frowned upon.
so some of the races, we have a couple. Up first on May 24th is the Run with the Alewives 5K, which is in Noblesboro, which is a fun little out and back, which used to be a 5K/10K. And I have a fun story from this. When it was a 5K/10K. So I ran the 10K that year. And I finish, and I'm, cooling down. I'm walking around. I'm talking to some people I know. And this guy comes lumbering in this is probably like an hour 20 for a 10K, which is not a good 10K time by anyone's standards. This guy comes lumbering in, and he is cooked. He's done, and he pretty much collapses the thing. He goes, I thought I meant to run the 5K, and I missed the turnaround.
Oh my
And
God.
he ran, so he prepared for the 5K,
Whoa.
ran the 10K. It was hot.
Ooh.
It was a hot day. He barely made it. But it was just hilarious to me.
Oh,
because
man.
This guy's like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I barely ran a 5K, but I did do the shortcut shortcake shuffle,
yeah.
which is probably on your list.
It's on the list.
I
but it was
barely
just-
made it. I can't imagine if all of a sudden it turned into a
He
10K.
just doubled it on you.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, super
Ouch.
nice guy. So there's that race, and I believe what they're raising money there for is the fish ladder.
Yeah.
I think the fish
For
ladder.
several years now, that's been a popular race event as part of the larger
Yeah.
fundraising that goes on.
I haven't run it in a couple of years. I haven't run a race since COVID.
Yeah, it's a beautiful run, as you
It's
know,
nice. Yeah,
like
it's a nice
around the
little
Salt Bay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the first one. Then on the 14th of June is the Waldemar Day 5K, which is one of the bigger ones in the area. Full disclosure, I'm in charge of it.
Yeah,
Took over from George Gould.
and I've covered that. That's a fun.
That's a fun
Fun
one.
event,
I
yeah.
believe the Whoopie Pie Station will be back this year.
Is that Daigle?
Yeah,
One
Connor
of the-
Daigle is the defending champion.
Yeah. I forgot to mention his brother is on the Madomic track team and is
Oh,
also, I think he's a sophomore this year, so he's another guy to watch.
Connor, I think, I could be wrong here, I think he broke Robert Gomez's course record last year.
Yeah, it was I think it was one of the faster.
It was, if
Finishes.
he didn't break it, he just missed it. But I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he broke it. And so I'm kind of hoping Gomez will come back and try to take have a bit of a showdown.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
could be
nice.
a really fun race. It's a very hard race because it's Waldemar, and it's just try to find 3.1 miles of flat ground
Yeah.
in Waldemar. Good luck. All right, so then the 5th of July is, the Waldemar Day 5K. I should say the fundraiser this year is the food pantry. And so we are soliciting people bring stuff for the food pantry, like cans of food,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
that's great.
The Waldemar Food Pantry does great work. And then on the 5th of July is the Strawberry Shortcake Shuffle.
Well, one of my
which
favorites.
You run that, so you want to give people...
I run it, and
an
if I
idea
don't
of
run
the
it, I
course.
try to sneak a piece of the shortcake from the table and look like I was one of the runners.
Just
Like
come up and
pour some water over my head and look all
show up
sweaty.
and work up out here and be like,
Yeah.
tough course. But it is a tough course.
Yes, it is.
It's a very hard course.
Yeah,
It starts
same
at
thing.
GSB.
There's a tough hill on that.
It's all...
I always take my photos of the runners as they're agonizing coming up that. It just makes the best theatrical photo
Yeah.
of pain and agony.
Yeah, so if you know Great Salt Bay, it's you sort of come out of the parking lot, and then they get a big crowd for this one because they
Yeah,
bring a ton of
huge.
Kiev kids.
Yep. Hundreds are.
Yeah, and then you go down Back Meadow, and it's basically out and back on Back Meadow, but there's a huge hill there.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Yeah.
It's
The loop-de-loop.
It's very difficult. And then I think we have a new one. When I was Googling, when I was on runningintheusa.com, on the 6th of July, the Ocean Point 5K in Booth Bay.
Oh,
Have you heard of this one?
I have not.
I
No, I'll
think
have
it's
to
new,
put
'cause
that
you
on my
can't even
list.
sign up yet.
Interesting.
And there's no course map or anything like that.
Oh,
So
probably
some-
quite scenic down there, I would imagine.
There used to be a race in Booth Bay, which I don't know if it's gone away, but I haven't seen it the last couple of years, or if maybe it's just on hiatus. That would start at the school, and then would go down into town, and it would go over that footbridge that goes across the water, and come back.
Yeah, it might have been a COVID victim because I would have heard of it and I would have covered it
It
probably.
would, I think one year they got 200 people for that.
Yeah.
So
Huh. Maybe this is the replacement.
it could be, yeah. And then, so in August on the 17th is the Westport Island Shore Run.
Oh,
which is a 10K.
I covered that as well. Beautiful.
I have not run that. How is that course?
I think it's probably of average
Right.
as far as geography goes. It doesn't stand out as anything like the Waldoboro or even the hill on the shortcake shuffle. Quite scenic. It goes through some nice waterfront spots.
Okay. Maybe I'll sign up for that this year.
Yeah.
Then on the 24th of August is the Pemaquid Beach Triathlon.
Yeah.
Which Mike, who works here, is very excited about already. And is trying to convince me to do it. And I keep telling him, dude, I'm not a good swimmer. And I see how that can go back.
It's not that big of a swim, though, because I cover this event as well every year. I love it. It's what I do to cover races like this is I bring my bike and I can get to different like photo locations and whatnot. Yeah. It's not super like oceanfront, waterfront, but there's a few nice vistas. But the swim at the beach is always fun to see, and it's not that long of a swim though.
How far
you could
of a
do
swim
it.
Is it?
It's like a loop, it looks like a football field out, a football field over, and a football field in.
I can maybe
roughly. I mean, again, I'm kind of estimating.
Yeah.
Oh, but they got tons of like rescue boats out there, and it's like over.
That's worse.
In a good way, it's like over volunteered. There's tons of people to make sure that nobody keels over.
Worse if they have to rescue you because you haven't. Like that's the first part.
Yes, it is.
You're not even supposed to be tired yet.
Yeah. True.
I did volunteer once at the McGuntacook triathlon, and I volunteered at the end of the bike. Like they had just gotten into the run, and like maybe like 100 yards into the run, and they had to turn. I was like just directing traffic. And I can tell you that when you tell people, all you got to do now is run a 10K, they don't appreciate that. It's not a popular sentiment.
Yeah, that is definitely where I see some people struggling or in a little discomfort is on the running part. The biking looks like a lot of fun. I'd be psyched to do that.
I have to get a bike.
I can't swim either.
Because the other problem I'd have to be
I'm like swimming with an anchor out there.
Yeah. Are you allowed to dog paddle?
I think so. Anything goes. I mean, it might hurt your time, but
all right. And then finally, we have the Waldoboro Half Marathon on the 20th of September, which
I missed that last year, so I got to make sure that I
hardest half marathon in the eastern United States.
Yeah,
definitely, or probably. So there's some
on the elevation and all that.
On the elevation,
yeah,
it's 1,500 feet of elevation gain. Which the Paris Marathon. Which, if you watch the Paris Marathon coverage, they're like, "This is a possibly hard marathon. Oh my gosh, how are they running this marathon? It's impossible." Less elevation gain than the Waldoboro Day Half Marathon, but spread out.
Wow.
Over a full marathon distance. There is a race in maybe the Carolinas, something like that, where they go up one big hill and then back down. These go basically up a small mountain and back down. So it's similar elevation gain, but you're only going up one, and like the whole second half of it is downhill.
I think that one would be interesting if you go downhill first and then finish uphill.
That's what I would do if I was in charge. That's what I would make you do. But the it's 18 hills, 1,500 feet of elevation gain, and it ends. The last mile is uphill, and then it spikes. It ends at Odd Alewives, and it spikes there. It's like a 12% grade for the final like 10th. 0.2 of a mile, and it starts on like a 12% grade going from Moody's up the Cabin Road.
So if you're trying to catch somebody, that's kind of an interesting element to the race, right?
Left,
yeah.
If you want to definitely do your hill work, it's ridiculous. The first year we did it, so the winner walked the final hill, which
sounds pretty brutal.
That's a tough course. There's no water stations on the course. And no course support at all. So it's sort of bring your own stuff. Yeah. And
how about camelback on your...
Put your spouse on mile 8 to make sure you're okay. Right. But so those are the races.
Cool.
And we'd like to see more races come up because I'd like to run more races that don't involve driving to Portland.
Yeah, I'm psyched to see what that Booth Bay one is going to look like.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I brought up, so you see it right there on the computer, it's like $35. But like their website, there's nothing on the website, which makes me think it's got to be new.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Like I said, it probably would have been on my radar to cover.
Do you have we'll wrap this up. So it's very important if you're running that you don't look terrible in the race photos. So as someone who takes the race
I'm
photos,
kind.
are there tips to get, to look good? Because you don't want to look like you're just lollygagging out there. You want to look like you're really dialed in.
Yeah.
And you're cruising at a great pace. And, if your hair is not doing something great, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't want to look like,
Well, the trick is just I take so many photos that I can edit out all the
Does it help to
all the
speed up?
bloopers.
Does it help to speed up
Not
as the
really.
camera
What I
gets-
try to do is get both legs in the picture, though, because you know how when in your stride, the one leg kicks way back.
Yeah.
So then you look like you're missing your half of your leg.
Right.
So
But that
part of
could
it
be-
is, well,
But you don't want, like, if both of your feet, sometimes you get the picture and you look like you're not moving at all.
yeah,
Like, you just look like you're just sort of walking it.
yeah, right. So it's
that's
just a full stride.
Okay.
And I try to get front on pictures from the side. Like it's just all about.
Does it help
riding.
to wave to the camera, or should you look more focused?
Well, it's funny you should ask because the shortcake shuffle is really fun. Like a lot of the camp counselors wear costumes, and they usually ham to the photographers and the crowd and everything when they're coming in. So yeah,
Then you don't look like a serious.
Hey, it made it on the front. I believe that was a front page picture. Was the camp counselor in the strawberry suit.
Yeah, that's an easy call for a front
Right?
page.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just smile, maybe.
Well, if you're going to be at the top of the hill,
It's hard
no
to
one's going to be
smile.
smiling. They're all
Yeah.
going to be like, oh, this guy.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
But it can be challenging because the weather. There was a road race of some kind that I didn't hear on your list. It was in Edgecombe.
Oh,
It rained. Oh man.
Might not be back this year, or might not be listed on that website.
Or maybe it was in the fall. But anyway, that was miserable weather. So.
This is actually the full list of every single Lincoln County race.
Oh, okay.
That's how depleted.
I think it was part of their old Edgecombe days. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
not
I do
quite
know-
remembering.
Friendship Days will have a race, but they never listed on this website.
Huh.
So there's some more.
Yeah,
that
I
you
think
have
it
to
probably is in that category.
looking
But
for.
the weather, oh my God, was so bad.
That
So-
can't be good.
Yeah, it was rough.
If you get rough weather, was it just raining? Or?
Yeah, it was raining hard though. Like I think they almost canceled it.
Wow.
Yeah.
We used to
It
do,
was that
and
bad.
people keep asking for it to come back. We used to do the Icy Elf, which was a race like right before Christmas in Waldeboro. And the rule was we don't cancel for anything. I was like, unless the police say you can't run this race, we're doing it.
And wear spikes.
Nor'easter, don't care.
Icy conditions.
And that was a little tricky because, you might lose someone in a snowbank.
Yeah.
But we didn't lose anyone in the snowbank.
Did
But
that
then
fizzle out during COVID as
it
well?
was a COVID
maybe?
thing because we never able to put anybody. That we could spread
right.
everybody out.
Yeah.
So just to keep people warm. Who
Yeah.
aren't running or are done
Yeah.
or whatever. And so we could, in theory, bring that back maybe this year if I get
Yeah.
if I
That'd
get
be fun.
voted in to talk to people.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough going on, but it was a popular race.
Yeah.
So we need to bring more races back. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Cool.
Because
Bring it on.
All
I
right.
need more stuff to cover.
you need more stuff to cover.
It's outdoors. I love it.
Especially in the summer. There's no high school sports in the summer.
Yeah. It's excellent.
Perfect. All right. Do you have anything you want to add?
I do just a
Okay.
pitch for the Lincoln County Rugby that
Oh,
just
right,
started
rugby.
up. They practice at the Y. They have a bunch of tournaments coming up this
The
spring.
Damascotta Y?
Yep, Damascotta Y. Liam Brinkler is the new coach. He competed at University of Maine, Farmington,
Okay.
and they're off to a good start. But trying to get the word out to get more rugby athletes.
All right.
But it's hard because they draw from a lot of these other programs like track that allows you to do kind of
Multiple
stuff
things, yeah.
outside of it. So
How do people get involved with this if they're still listening this deep into this conversation?
I believe through the CLC YMCA in Damascotta,
Okay.
they can give you some information on that. But it looks like a lot of fun. I went and covered one of their practices, and it'd be great to have that
Cool.
prosper and grow.
I'm not going to do that.
Looks like a fun sport. It was. There were so many things I learned. Like I had no idea. I didn't know.
Watch.
Yeah, but there's so many. Like every sport, it's in the devil's in the details, and a lot of things that I had no idea that they were concerned with. I thought it was just like wrestle for the ball and all that, but no, it's very very detailed strategies and techniques and everything. Yeah. So I learned a lot just covering one practice. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was fun to see.
It was fun to watch the Olympics.
Yeah. Yep. So that's kind of a growing sport. And I could see that doing well if they could attract some of the Madomic football players. Get some clam diggers, get some
clam diggers be good at that.
Get some of the ball players at Madomic.
Those wrestlers.
Yep, wrestlers. Actually, I did see some wrestlers.
There you go.
From Lincoln that were playing. So
that's one of those sports that I feel like if you're standing on the sideline, we were talking football, I'm like, I would be broken in half.
Yeah.
5 minutes into this.
Yeah, it looks pretty physical, but it's like a lot of sports in that there's kind of a role for everybody, and there's the big grappler kind of guys.
There's the guy who gives everybody water.
And then there's someone that grabs the ball and runs, a little quick guy maybe. Then
the statistician on the sideline.
Well, that too.
Up in the booth.
That's important.
All right, so I think that'll wrap it up.
That's a wrap.
All right, we'll throw
looking forward to the season. We got a lot of competitive teams.
Yeah, should be
this spring. So hopefully we'll see a champion.
Let's get a
come
champion.
Out of that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right on.
Thanks for joining me.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. Production support is provided by Tyler Davis of Tyality Productions. Theme music by Stu Mahan and Sherwood Olin.
Have a question or a suggestion? Email us at info@lcnme.com. And if you haven't already, please be sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen.
This has been a Lincoln County Publishing Company production.